So yeah, like I think I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch that cutscene again. Just like a lot was said, but clearly Xenos is out of his mind. Like he's just, I don't know. You know, it's just all about. I mean, basically, he's just an adrenaline junkie, like to a psychotic degree. It was interesting. I was thinking because I don't know if I've ever really thought about it. It's probably been brought up, particularly in Shadowbringers. Or I mean, it would have had to have been in Shadowbringers if it was brought up. But you know, the Solus's whole thing of like we take out icons or whatever, they can't be suffered to live, and or well, they were less about taking the icons out and more of just taking out anybody that would summon an icon, which of course was its whole purpose, was to drive the beast tribes and whoever else to actually summon icons to then create calamities, because of course Ascians. And obviously Xenos doesn't know that. And him thinking that, you know, they just did it out of fear or whatever. But yeah, I had forgotten. I forgot that Shinryu was actually captured. So I guess Omega did that, captured Shinryu. And then he lets it loose, and I don't know, to me it was just like, yeah, it's the Shinryu fight. You're just fighting Shinryu. But it's actually some, I don't know, you know, combination of Shinryu and Xenos. And I don't know exactly what he did. Like, it's not even, I mean, other than he has like a crystal in its chest now, I guess, because of the combination. But other than that, at least I can't tell that they changed too much. It just seems like Xenos just, like, etherically combined, well, etherically, like, took it over, I guess. Like, took over its mind or something like that. But it's not like they're, you know, some hellish abomination created from the two. I made, it's 2 tanks. And, oh, there we go. This is a cool fight, but I remember being such a pain in the ass to do. Well, I didn't find the normal fight to be that hard, but it was enough of a pain for people going through the story that they nerfed it. But the extreme was definitely a pain. Okay, he's elected to maintain. Oh, we got some new people. Into the bad. Oh, but it's not a lasting buff. Good. I don't know if I actually remember how the normal version goes, because I don't know the last time I did it. I know Extreme quite well. Well, at least Unsynced I know it quite well. Power of the gods are mine to command. Yeah, this is definitely different. Oh yeah, definitely, man. Wow. Skipping a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, I don't have. I was wondering what, like, why none of the stuff I tried to aggro was aggroing, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't have pink stance on. Oop, there goes the healer. So this doesn't have the whole quick time event. The heavens are too small a field for our veins. Let us transcend this mortal coil. Oh, okay, it does. It just does them in a different order. Okay, this is the platform I'm used to fighting on. Some people are going off. This day we shall write a new legend, my friend. This battle shall echo in eternity. Sure, sure. I was expecting the... But I think that's the read of the ice shards come in, but again, extreme. Yeah. Power of the gods and minds of men. Oh, that didn't work. I don't know if it's because I did it too late or... Okay, summon icicle. There we go. Is that it? Yeah. I think that's just spread out, right? And he did. I think it's been a long time since I've done that one on normal. Oh, not a happy victory, I guess, there. This is when Xenos does more crazy stuff. Proves he's out of his mind.
Are you all right? Xenos.
The hunter has indeed become the hunted. And yet, there is only joy. Transcendent joy that I have never known. How invigorating, how pure this feeling.
Is that what this was all about? All the meaningless death and destruction, so you could feel something?
Meaningless. Men die that others may live. Those who survive are stronger for it. Not that you could ever understand. To have stood upon this great stage of fools. To have played my part to perfection. Oh, this moment. Let it be enshrined in eternity. My heart beating out of time. So clear, so vivid, so real. So real. Coward!
Stop!
Farewell, my first friend. My enemy.
I don't even, like, why. I guess he was just so into the bliss of the moment, he thought I could never get better than that. But why he didn't think he could fight on and get stronger. I mean, because that's what he ends up doing anyway. Feeling anyway.
He's dead. By his own hand.
Then justice has been done.
No. There's no justice in that rabid animal's end.
Liberty or death. That so many should be forced to take up this creed to defeat such madness.
We won. Forget him. The living have need of us now.
Stand tall, Lys. Now is the time to raise a cheer for all who fought for freedom. A cheer loud enough to carry to the highest heavens.
You're right. Thank you. Without you... well, you know.
It's like we've been here before.
So let's do it together. For Alamigo!
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of a bitter victory. A little bit, but it's still a victory nonetheless. A momentous one. Kind of a weird moment. We just defeated him. Let's all come together and sing. That's why I'm not a big fan of musicals. It just seems like it just takes me out of the moment so much.
In crimson it began, and in crimson it ended. And then we were free.
Oh, here we go. Oh, that's Fordola, yeah.
But what is freedom, really?
To be so wrong. I mean, I can get somebody coming to that conclusion. You know, if you can't beat them, join them. But again, to fight so hard for what you think is the right path for your people, and to be so wrong.
We may be free to live, to love, to grow old, to have dreams and desires, and to strive for them. But in the end, we're defined by the legacy our forefathers bequeathed to us. Even Xenos was once a baby in the cradle, innocent and pure. He was made into a creature that lived only for death, not born one. "20 years of Imperial rule have left Alamigo torn and bleeding. It won't be easy to heal a generation's worth of wounds, to bridge the gap. But I won't give up, Papalimo. I won't.
It's interesting her talking about, you know, we aren't born this way or whatever. And it seems like that's what a lot of Stormblood is about. Particularly with the Fordola and Yotsuyu storylines.
Because I remember the price of freedom. I remember the smoke, and the ashes, and the blood. I remember the screams, and the silence. And I'll do whatever it takes to honor their sacrifice, to build a home for us all. I promise you. This is the end.
She has to say more than that.
The end of the imperial province of Alamigo, and the rebirth of Alamigo, the free nation. Long may she endure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, she couldn't just say, like, this is the end. We know it's not. I mean, she should know it's not. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's... I really like this expansion. And I don't think it deserves as much flack as it gets. But I will admit there is something that's not as satisfying as Heavensward. Just my initial thought is, at least with this last part, it feels like it almost went by too quickly. You know, like, especially since these are areas that were occupied for decades, and then suddenly it's like, it just kind of feels like all that had to happen was just for us to get involved, and then suddenly just dominoes started falling. But I mean, sometimes that's how that stuff works, you know. And then particularly as things go on now and you realize just how, I mean, they had already kind of established it with the wars for leadership or whatever of Garlemald, just like how much of a mess the Garlean Empire really is, that it really didn't take that much to start toppling it. But like, I don't feel like there was, I know one of the criticisms is the split narrative, and I think even it was different writers between Garabanya and Athar Doma. But I don't feel like there was like that big a difference in the quality of it or whatever between the two. And I don't feel like I don't feel like it was a split narrative. Like, it was a singular narrative. You know, of, okay, well, we needed to go here, you know, to then do this type of, like, it made sense, in at least the way they told it. I mean, you could argue it seemed a bit weird that it was like, okay, we went to Doma to free them, or not even, it wasn't even necessarily to free them, but to go there basically to get them riled back up to start the fight again, so it would force the Garleans to fight on two fronts at the same time. But it ended up being they fought on the Doman front, we beat them, and then they fought on the Alamegan front and we beat them again. So I mean, I could, and again, it seems like all we had to really do was just get involved ourselves, and then suddenly just the pieces started to fall in place. But you know, I guess in some cases it is just, you know, giving the people like the inspiration, the courage to keep going, because that's all it really was. Certainly for Doma. Because I mean, okay, so obviously Warrior of Light, just having the Warrior of Light involved is a huge boon. It's basically like, you know, having, you know, like it's the difference between having the nuke and not having the nuke. So in a lot of ways, like, yeah, like Doma couldn't do it maybe without us, but I think the way narratively, the way they make it feel like is that they could have, had they just had the courage to keep going and, you know, to bring their disparate peoples together. Were we necessary for that? I mean, in some ways, yes, obviously, just because of having to deal with primals along the way and whatnot, but and certainly there was loss along the way, but it still just feels, you know, because as soon as we got back to Girabanya, like they were ready to go again. You know, where when we left, it was like they were in shambles, and it was just like, okay, we'll keep going. We'll kind of try to pick the pieces back up, but you know, where it's like we got back and it's like they're raring to go, and you know, they've got more people now, and then, you know, and this was again after just a horrendous defeat. And then we come back and they're just ready to go, and we just again start knocking, you know, one obstacle down after the other. So I would say that there were certainly points that could have been maybe more expertly crafted. But I mean, the overall story, and I think the individual character interactions and all that stuff, I think were great. Like, I think, you know, the story of we lost on this front, and again, like, the only reason we lost was because of Xenos. If Xenos hadn't been there in Garabanya, we probably would have taken it and been fine, just like we did in Othard. Because the only reason we were able to take Doma was because Xenos decided to up and leave. He was just like, I don't care anymore. You know, like, I'm not sticking around here. Yeah, I don't know. But again, the overall story of it, you know, we lost here. That's because, you know, we were our full force versus their full force. But if we can go to Doma, get them raring to go again, and then, you know, force them to fight on two fronts to split their forces, we can actually take them down. And, you know, from that point, like, it all makes sense and it sounds good. I mean, the Azim stuff was great. I just love the characters and the lore there and all that. And then the individual characters I liked. I don't know that there were any that bugged me or I thought weren't done well. Again, there's been the criticisms of Lise, and I don't. The only criticism I could give is Conrad's, you know, passing on the torch to her. I don't know if they really justified it well enough. Because the only justification I can really recall was just like, yeah, she's kind of experienced everything that, or a lot of the things that all the various groups of Alamegans have experienced. You know, she was around, like, before the Garleans took over, although she was, 5 years old at the time? But she's been an Alamegan refugee, although even from the way it seems, she just, you know, she was taken up by the Sharlayans and then the Circle of Knowing and the Scions, and, you know, like, she, I don't think, from my understanding, didn't have to suffer quite like most of the other refugees did, because she had a place to go to almost immediately, from what I can recall. But it's not like I think like she couldn't be a good leader. And I think, you know, the journey with her throughout this story, I think has proven that she's at least receptive to, you know, the teachings, the wisdom, the experience of others that would make her a good leader. I think, I don't think they've expressed that, like, she is a good leader now. I think they've expressed that she's been given the mantle and she's receptive to doing what it takes. And she's even said, like, I'm not going to be a leader like her father, like Conrad, like Hien. Like, she knows she's not them. You know, she's going to have to do it her own way. And, you know, from the viewpoint of somebody coming at this the first time through, you know, you've just got to take it, well, we got to see what happens. Though I don't know what role Alamigo really plays from this point on. I mean, I know we go back to it, we learn about them kind of working to rebuild, but as far as their role in the story going forward, I don't know how much there is. Most of the stuff I remember in the patch content is dealing with Doma insofar as, like, Yatsuyu. And, I mean, there is stuff, you know, skirmishes that continue to happen between the Alliance and the Garleans and whatnot, but as far as, like, the Alamegan resistance and Lisa's part in it, I mean, because she even, like, is like, okay, I'm no longer a Scion anymore. I mean, we'll get to that, but I'm just saying, I don't know that there's really any scenarios after this point that really test Lisa's ability to lead that I can recall. I mean, if there are, we'll get to it and I'll see how I feel then. But, so again, as far as Lise goes, I just feel like, yeah, I mean, maybe she got the mantle undeservedly. Or, I mean, that seems harsh. It's like, dude just passed the mantle on to her, and it's like, okay, I'm not really seeing why, or I'm not seeing, like, an overt, like, very clear reason as to why she would get it. It's not to say that she couldn't be a good leader, and again, like I said, I think they've set up a lot of story points along the way for her character growth. But it still does very much feel like a young, inexperienced person that's been given the mantle to lead. But I still like her as a character. I think she's, you know, she's a character that's fought with insecurities and not knowing her place and her purpose, and, you know, having taken up the mantle of Yida for so long. I think she, you know, she didn't really look inward to see what it was she really wanted, and part of this journey was to figure that out. And what she wanted was to free All Amigo, so now that she has that, where does she go from there? It sucks that they sidelined Y'shtola yet again. I don't know why they did that. It almost kind of feels like they just couldn't get the voice actress. So, like how TV shows do it and stuff, where it's like, for whatever reason, the actor or actress has to take time off or something, so they kind of write them off the show temporarily and then bring them back in. Because at least from a narrative perspective, from A Realm Reborn into Heavensward, like, okay, it makes sense. All this stuff happened, they're gone or whatever. But in this case, it was just like, yeah, we're just gonna injure her and take her out for a bit, I mean, thankfully she plays a bigger part in Shadowbringers. Although even then, it's like she's like the last one to join back up with the group. Which is funny because she's widely considered to be a lot of people's favorite character. I mean, either for waifu reasons or just because they like her characterization, and yet they still, I mean, maybe it's smart on their part to not overplay her. I mean, Thancred wasn't really... I mean, he definitely played a part, but he was still kind of in and out. Certainly didn't play as large a part as Lys or Alphinaud or Alisaie. I think they did a great job with the characterizations. Or just the characters. Yatsuyu was an interesting character. She was... Although at this point, they really didn't get that much into her history. Clearly more of that... Well, no, I guess... I don't know what more they do go into after this. Because they explain that, she really wasn't loved or cared for by her family. She was passed around and, basically was just almost like a political object to be passed around. And that's why she eventually, hates her own people. But, Gosetsu is great. We'll get more of him. Yugiri really kind of played a backseat in this. I mean, she was around, but it was more like she was just there to take orders from Hien. I think Hien was a good character. He was kind of, obviously he was supposed to be... His role was kind of... How would I put it? It was somebody to kind of bounce off of with Lys and somebody that she could learn from. So he was almost, I think, meant to be like a future version of her. One who was in a similar position she was in, but had a bit more experience, a bit more wisdom for her to learn from. Xenos, I know a lot of people have criticisms of him because he seems like a very one-dimensional character. I think part of that is just because who the hell can understand somebody with motivations like his? Again, he just comes across as a psychopath, a sociopath, while also being a adrenaline junkie. And just thinking about him going forward, I mean, you know, like right at the end there of what we've seen now, it's like he, you know, they turned him up to 11. And then really they just kind of keep him at 11 going forward. You know, he's just still this crazy dude that you can't quite understand. He's certainly not a villain you can empathize with at all. I think that's one of the things that hurts his character, you know, is just, you know, the audience can't empathize with him. There's just nothing there. Where obviously, like that's one of the things that makes Emmett Selk so great as a villain. Is it's so easy to empathize with him. And I'd love to go into more about him, but I'll wait until we get to Shadowbringers to do that, because there's so much for me to talk about with him. But yeah, Xenos, I think just the inability to empathize with him makes him a less compelling, not only villain, but just character overall. He just is this kind of unknowable force that's against you, and that's really just what he is. I'm trying to think of anything else I can say about the story. Like I really enjoyed it, and it's like I enjoyed the macro stuff and I enjoyed the micro stuff. It's like, I don't know, maybe just whatever's in between that just didn't. It's like the connection between the micro and the macro wasn't as solid as Heavensward was. But I still appreciate it as a whole, though. Yeah, I mean, that's about what I can think of at the moment. I'm sure with time I'll be able, you know, other stuff will come back to me and I'll be like, oh, well, there was this and that. But, so, I mean, as the way I feel now, I'm on board with, I think the majority of people, the way I can see there, definitely I've seen those that would rate the order of the expansions or the, you know, the various story arcs differently. But I gather most people, it's Shadowbringers, Heavensward, Stormblood, and then A Realm Reborn. That's how I would place them. But alright, enough credits. Let's get on with the show. It still baffles me that they did not have the Royal Menagerie available to go to immediately after this.
Well, well, well. What a fine mess we've made. All but spent feeding that primal, eh? Well, you won't be making any mischief with that amount of ether. Still, better safe than sorry.
So are those Nidhogg's eyes or Shinryu's eyes?
There. There ends your hateful legacy.
I would assume Nidhogg's? Did I forget we lost track of Nidhogg's eyes at some point? Well, I guess the last time I remember seeing them was Ilberd, when he threw himself off the whatever. So I guess Xenos had them? Oh. We're not voice acting this? Interesting. It's over. My condolences for your loss. A father should not outlive his son. No, he didn't really care. What nonsense. You do not mourn his loss? You surprise me, your radiance. He was your son and heir, and an irreplaceable test subject. I know what he was. Monsters are not made for thrones. Nor are stars made to sustain false gods who sup on their very essence. Okay. Icons summoned by desperate savages who hearken to the whispers of shadowless charlatans. Icons summoned by desperate savages. The whispers of shadowless charlatans. Should you raise a hand against my black-robed brethren, I will not stop you. Our desires are one and the same. Preservation, restoration. Compression, resurrection. All is in service to your one true God. And when the sundered shards are made whole, will there be a place for us mere mortals? Doubt my claims and question my motives if you will, your radiance. You will come to trust me in time. Until then, mayhap you will find this reassuring. How dare you? So has he got Xenos' body now? I mean, I think he eventually does. Somebody does eventually. I can't remember if it's Elidibus. Although who the hell else would it be at this time? I mean, if he is now in Xenos' body already, that seems quick. Thank you for watching this video. Tonight's stream was excellent. We finished off 4.0, so the Stormblood based story, and I really, really enjoyed it. And we'll be moving on to the level 70 Dark Knight quests, before then moving on to the Stormblood patch content. If you would like to join live, the link to my Twitch is down below. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again for watching, and have a good one.